Thanks for tuning in tonight here at the Meme Ranch. We have a special edition happening right now. Thank you guys for joining. Before we get started, please like this video, give us a comment. We're going to have the live chat open. We're going to be discussing a very interesting matter that occurred today with the resignation of Joe Kent, who, if you don't know, is basically the deputy under Tulsi Gabbard. He is in charge of counterterrorism. And basically, the CIA, the farmhouse, whatever you want to call it, apparatus of the United States. And he is getting basically what people have been kind of calling for the last few weeks or months, sort of this MAGA civil war kickstarted with this very audacious sort of reasoning for wanting to resign over his disagreement with the Iran war, and basically saying that the United States and Trump was duped into getting involved in the Iran war by Israel. And we're going to have a talk about what that means, our positions on that type of claim, and so much more here on this. But first, we're going to kind of get sort of in tune with what people are saying on it. We're going to start with Glenn Beck here, who I thought had a pretty good summary of everything that transpired this morning with this letter that was tendered for the White House. And Joe Kent even had a meeting later in the day with Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard's also going to be testifying tomorrow on the Hill with a bunch of other people in charge of CIA, John Ratcliffe. We're going to have FBI Director Kash Patel. We're going to have so many more at the hearing tomorrow. So let's just get into this.
There's something that's just happened that is remarkably historic. I want to read it to you. President Trump, this comes from the Director of National Intelligence and National Counterterrorism Center, Joseph Kent. President Trump, after much reflection, I've decided to resign from my position as Director of the National Counterterrorism Center effective today. I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. I know this is so damaging. This is Pentagon Papers stuff.
Hold on,
this is
Caitlin.
as
Hit pause.
important as the Pentagon Papers. This is
In
a sentence, why is he saying this?
Elders of Zion level. Why is Glenn Beck saying this?
Yeah. Just like briefly, why do you think he's saying this is so damaging? I'm going to give you my reason after you give me yours.
My reason is just because I think that there's been a big issue of credibility right now, sort of in the podcaster sphere, and some of the talks that have been happening on the right by a lot of influencer types of people, and the feuding with Laura Loomer and everything that's happening, that I think that he's saying this is basically sort of the first shot because it came within, even though Kent wasn't even being invited to some of these recent meetings about Iran and just not really having a very significant role. So these podcasters who always feel like they have some people on the end that are talking to them and giving them their lowdown about what's happening in the admin and saying that, patriots need to be in control. Well, I got news for them. The podcaster class is not in control. And Joe Kent just decided, I think, to pull a Dan Bongino and basically say, it's an opposite of a Dan Bongino because obviously Dan loves Israel. But I think that this is sort of like a similar situation where he just didn't really have a lot of pull. He wasn't a powerful person, even though he was the head of counterterrorism. They were leaving him out of meetings and things like that. That I just think that he just thought that this would be a way to, stir the pot. What do you say?
I think this is a big deal because we've reached a crossroads. This is a fourth turning. This is something I beat like a dead horse, but this is a fourth turning, meaning a time of crisis. This isn't a time a crisis that Trump even created. We were going to have one regardless if Trump was in. If Kamala was in, we're going to have a crisis. If you believe in the fourth turning and generational theory, this was going to happen. We were either going to have an external conflict or an internal conflict. Well, we've got an external one. These guys who are protesting Trump's actions are trying to create an internal conflict. They're trying to create a MAGA civil war. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that they're trying to basically do it in order to sort of leverage whatever influence they might have carried into the almost halfway point of the Trump administration, up until I think maybe around 8 or 9 months into the administration, I felt like there was, a sizable line of optimism and agreement with the sort of podcaster people's class, whatever you want to try to describe it as. And I think that over time, they just started to see things that they kept sort of, they felt like they couldn't deny their what they were seeing in front of them. You have people like Owen Shroyer, who's like trying to make these very audacious claims that MAGA has been these people who said that they've been anti-war for decades. Like, I don't know who he's referring to, but MAGA has only been around. It hasn't been around for 2 decades yet, so I don't know who he's referring to whenever he says that. I mean, I think that in a large part it does kind of come from just the ability to print money with a lot of these very loud and kind of obnoxious theories and things like that. That just like you would in a different reality, like you would want them to be telling the 100% truth and listening to everything they're saying with earnest and bated breath, but they never come up with the receipts. They never have any sort of evidence. And this is kind of what Glenn Beck gets into here in a moment. I'll keep playing the video.
Yeah, let's keep going with that.
Yeah.
Going to possibly change the course of America. I support the values of foreign policies that you campaigned on in 16, 2020, 2024, which you enacted in your first term. Until June of 2025, you understood that wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of the precious lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting us drawn into a never-ending war. You demonstrated this by killing Soleimani and defeating ISIS. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your American First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war with Iran.
Names of who?
These high-ranking officials and influencers. I want to hear who he thinks. For us to examine what his letter is claiming, we need to know a citation or two. What is he talking about specifically? It's just a generalized accusation.
And my position on Joe Kent is that I know that he has wavered on this topic in recent years. Like he's been saying very things that I think that for the most part would align with this administration's foreign policy for a while. And to a point, I mean, I think that, I think Trump's remark when he was asked about it was that, he doesn't seem like he's too concerned about security. And to be the head of counterterrorism, I think you really have to, take matters like this serious and not be a disruptive voice of dissent. It's like being in the actual position is not the place to carry over the dissent or carry on or parlay those burdens onto the people unless it, really is something that needs to be have a whistle blown about it. And without any kind of names of officials like what's being described here, without any additional information that we can look into and investigate, I don't want this to just be like something that we watch him on Tucker tomorrow or wherever he's going on and see just a 2-hour conversation where it's just basically like what you and I are having, just about it's just like, but the difference is that he's the one that's supposed to have the goods, the information.
Well, I can boil it down for you because you're right. He is the one that should have the goods. So this is him saying that Israel is a bigger threat than somebody like Iran. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to from his position.
This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the United States. This is incredible. You can say a lot of things, but to say that Donald Trump is a dupe and has been duped by a foreign power because he wasn't smart enough to figure it out is absolutely insane. Jason, your analysis on this?
I think that we need an immediate statement from DNI Tulsi Gabbard immediately to go into the details that they probably did not even want to go into at the moment, but they're going to have to now. This is incredibly irresponsible, and it needs to be cleared up 5 minutes ago. They need to do that. They need to go into rapid damage control mode and explain exactly point by point and counter everything Joe Kent just said. Now, I don't have a problem with, so Joe Kent he's always seemed to me to be kind of like a very libertarian voice within the administration. And his wife dying in Syria, I'm sure that pushed him further towards the no war camp.
Sure it has.
And I can get that. I like having, an anti-Bolton style group of people within there. We need those voices. But this is so irresponsible. You might as well just say that, I read the protocols of the elders of Zion and, the Jews control the world. He basically said that.
He basically said that. Jews control the United States of America.
Come on. This is so irresponsible. I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this. And the only reason saying something like this, you might as well, it's got to be an intention grab. It's got to be. I don't know. He's throwing
And again, unlike the Pentagon Papers.
So, I mean, yeah, and I want to hear his point about the Pentagon Papers and the comparison that he's making. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the point that he's probably making is that, this would be as big as the Pentagon Papers if you could corroborate it and prove it. And that's the thing, man, is like this feels like, I don't know if people out there know who Ian Carroll is, but he's this guy on X who makes these videos, and he goes down these rabbit holes. He'll make like this 6-minute TikTok video going down like a conspiracy rabbit hole and like explaining things. And as someone who I've avoided his videos like the plague, but I remember seeing them a lot more early on, and they were just these mesmerizing traps where it's like you could accidentally watch like 3 minutes of the video and be like, what did I just do with my life? And he's kind of like I feel like he's like a younger Russell Brand, but like if Russell Brand just like evolved like overnight and didn't need that much time to percolate in the chamber, like he kind of just has it down, and he's able to keep people going down these weaves and these threads of information that supposedly seems like it's all interconnected. But I just think that everything is, it's like he's one of these experts, one of these people that's like really good at like number associations. Have you ever run into those people where they'll just like bring up like, random numbers that they like notice like patterns and stuff like that?
When you go to buy a new car.
Yeah.
And it's not a great experience for me either, so I'm not going to watch those videos.
Yeah, no, they're terrible. There's actually like there's a bit where there's like a guy, like a number associating person on a Nathan For You show. But not a Nathan For You show. It was like a Nathan Fielder show.
Let's listen to a little bit more of what they're saying here, because Ian Carroll just grates on me. Just the sight of his videos, I can't stand it.
Where's the evidence of this?
Yep, none.
Where there's no evidence of this. So he has just taken, and this was my problem, and I said this yesterday. I've said this every day since the war started. I don't need more opinions. I need more facts. I'm tired of opinions. I want facts. If this is true, back it up with facts. Show me how this happened. Do you have any evidence that those things happened, Ricky?
Don't get me started. I
Yes,
didn't want to bring this story to you.
You do know, you do have the evidence. You have the written word from those allies that are all Arabs. Yes, I have that. Do you have the evidence to the other side that Israel is trying to do this war to destroy the Arab world? No, you have an opinion. Well, I've got an ass and an opinion. They're both worth exactly the same thing. They're not worth...
Do you know that Carrie Prejean Buller woman who was on the Religious Commission, Jeff?
The name's ringing a bell, but I couldn't tell you more than that.
Carrie Prejean Buller. She was the one who resigned from the White House Religious Liberty Commission over the. Basically, she was making like a point that there was not enough talk or discussion about Palestine. And she has also been a Tucker guest in recent days after her resignation. And it seems like there's a bit of a pattern of weeding out some of the people who were in the administration that might have not been completely on board with our alliance with a nation that we've been allied with for decades, you know, and I think just often like there's like this, to be a little bit more nuanced about it, like there's this policy position I think that exists on the right where it just thinks it's bad economically for stability, things like that, to get involved in wars of the Middle East. There's a whole discussion to be had about fundamental disagreements and lack of comportment with Christianity, and you know,
wars in the Middle East are like a merry-go-rounds, just like you hop on and hop off wherever you want.
Right.
Never stop.
Right. So it's like it's understandable, and there's definitely I think plenty of space for that. Where I come from on this is I think we were talking about it before. Is for me there is like a fine line in the sand where if it gets to the point where a draft is needed, or the government says a draft is needed, then that's the point where I kind of start to, you know, say, okay, maybe we, and that's not even just like for like selfish reason. It's just like,
sure,
even if I was outside of the window, yeah, I don't want to be drafted, guys. But even if I was outside of the window of the draft, I think I would have that position.
Well, I want to make a quick point here about, you know, the whole puppet master conspiracy that people are wanting to divide the country over and wanting to destroy MAGA over, is that the claim that, you know, he's making that Israel is running the show. What if I have no, I mean, we're talking about what ifs, I guess, right? Because that's what Glenn Beck's saying. We need facts. What if Trump is using Israel to take down our real opponent? Because nobody else is going to help us. It's going to have to be Israel. And I don't think America wants to go it alone. So he's looking at Netanyahu, he's looking at Israel and be like, well, I'll put up with all the nonsense that's going to happen within the MAGA movement, because the greater goal here is to take down maybe China, maybe a China-Russia coalition that we would face a year or two down the road. Now, if we take out Maduro, we take out Venezuela, we take out Iran, we're lessening this battle we're going to have, or maybe even avoiding it altogether with China, with Taiwan. Maybe we don't avoid it. Maybe it's just, this is a good way to lessen the blow that we're going to have. Like I said, this is all based on my idea of the fourth turning and generational theory. So like, we have this external conflict. Maybe Trump is just playing his strongest hand, you know, playing the cards, the way he would have put it.
Mm-hmm.
They're not worth a damn thing. Give me the facts. That is the problem with this country. You have too many people like me who are paid to give you an opinion and perspective on what the hell all of this means. Unfortunately, there are so many of us that some people have to get a leg up on somebody else. I've got to get more clicks. I've got to get more advertisers. I got to get more followers. I got to get whatever it is. And so they no longer attach themselves to facts. I have some things that I think I know about this situation that I think is really important, but I'm not going to share them because I don't have any facts to back them up. I don't have any evidence to back it up. I have gut feelings. So, Glenn, why don't you say it? Because they're gut feelings. They're not facts. And when you're talking about the destruction of people, when you're talking about war and killing people, when you're talking about possibility of World War III, when you're talking about dividing this nation into into two groups. I hate them Jews. And I just want to know
that's a
what
clip.
the truth is. I don't
It's an
want to get
unfortunate
involved
clip.
in anybody else's. When you're dividing us this hard on something this dark, produce the damn evidence, Joe.
That's a really good way to end it.
I mean, his claim is enough evidence for half of MAGA right now. That's the unfortunate fact. That's all they need. They need somebody who looks good in who has a military record, who looks great in a uniform, who has a high up position in the administration under Tulsi. And that's enough. I mean, that's their proof.
Yeah, I mean, I just wonder, what do you think Tulsi is going to say when she's asked about this tomorrow?
You would know better than me.
I don't know. I mean, I don't follow Tulsi Gabbard like tooth and nail. Just based off of my, I mean, she's definitely. I think she's not gonna betray the administration in any way.
This has already been vetted somewhat, I bet.
Yeah. So I don't think it's going to be anything like astronomical. I just think that, I think it's going to be interesting to see how far she pulls back on saying anything negative about Kent.
You bringing up Tulsi, that's a great idea, Caitlin, because Tulsi is focused on elections.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's news coming out about that. So I bet when this all broke, she's still focused on election integrity, because there is some news out there percolating about a big story coming on that.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's only a certain amount of time that they have left to really do anything with it. So time is of the essence, and I'll be covering that tooth and nail because that is, I mean, that is like my nexus to Tulsi in my coverage that I do. And, I don't focus on a lot of foreign conflict and stories. I don't focus on a lot of, things other than like domestic. And so that's where I think my nexus with Tulsi's world therein lies. So, but yeah, we were going to talk about some of the, just exactly what are the podcast class, i.e. us.
We have some examples here for us.
We do have some examples, and I guess we'll start with Alex Jones because I feel like he's the most comparable to Glenn Beck. I don't want to start with his former sidekick Owen. Let's just start with the beginning here with Alex.
President Trump's coming to the defense of Mark Levin today on Truth Social is extremely troubling because of what he says there. First off, he implies that it's these evil, terrible people that aren't MAGA that are attacking him and that Trump's coming to his aid. Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, and others have been all over the conservative circuit, CPAC, their own shows, TPUSA, saying Tucker Carlson is non-MAGA, Alex Jones is non-MAGA, and listing other people that are supposed to be excommunicated. Well, let's just get one thing straight here. I was around a lot longer than Trump politically, and I've never been MAGA. I'm 1776. I've supported the aims of Make America Great Again so far, but now those definitions are changing. But what Trump's really doing here is attacking his critics. He doesn't want to say, don't attack me in the Iran war. He wants to say, leave Mark Levin alone. He's the litmus test when he's calling for censorship and all the rest of it of people like Tucker Carlson and myself, or I will say that you're not part of our movement. Well, Trump, you don't have to worry about that. People are already very upset with you and already basically understanding that your legacy is being destroyed by you breaking your promise about this war and a lot of the other things you've done, like no real prosecutions of the deep state. So if you want to continue to self-inflict wounds on your own name and own political dynasty, I'm sad about that, but that's your life. You can do it. We're going to stay true to our populist, conservative, nationalist, Christian ideas that you wrote in on, but that we launched. I've been promoting these issues for 30 plus years. Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, and all your darlings were never Trumpers and attacked you. And I've seen Lindsey Graham, say, screw Donald Trump. Donald Trump can go to hell. But that's who you've chosen now, and their worldview more and more. You're ignoring Kennedy, saying we're going to give glyphosate protection roundup, and so many other things you're starting to break with why we voted for you. Now, still, you're better than the Democrats. So I don't hate you. I still promote the good things you do. But when you say, hey, if you criticize Mark Levin, that's a litmus test. You're by the wayside. You're a failure. You're in the dustbin of history. That's a neocon talking point of Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro. They're the ones that have almost no viewers or listeners anymore. They're the ones that are incredibly unpopular. And if you think taking on their political views is the right thing to do or is going to help you, then we can't stop you. But I've seen Mark Levin say a few months ago, people like Tucker Carlson, the rest of you think you're going to stop us with your little podcast? We'll do anything it takes to blah, blah, blah. It's open threats. Now you have the head of the ADL a few days ago literally say, we'll play it in a moment coming up here on my syndicated show. I'm also posting this clip to X. I'll post that clip under it. Greenblatt came out and said, you saw the great genius of us with the pagers and all the other operations killing our enemies. We need to do that in America in our 8-front war. So it's not just censorship and debanking and the ADL having meetings saying arrest me years ago. Now, let's have criminal referrals for Tucker Carlson, claiming because he's talking to Iranians during a war, which is a journalist's job, he's working for a foreign country, which they say is illegal. Well, Tucker isn't working for a foreign country, but you represent a foreign country, Israel. You have members of Congress wearing IDF uniforms during their votes. I mean, it's being flaunted. And so by attacking anybody as anti-Semitic that disagrees with total war with Iran, you guys have set the parameters now to basically define it as that. And you're only kind of conjuring the monster you claim that you fear. But the truth is, the head of the ADL also said in the same speech, we've never had...
Yeah, it's really easy to get enthralled with Alex. I just wanted to pause it there just to kind of digest some of what he said so far. I mean,
I'm going to say something right off the bat. Alex Jones just said he was never MAGA. He was never not MAGA. All right. Alex Jones, who is an American treasure, we'll put it out there. I like Alex Jones, and I think he's had a profound influence on American culture. Trump brought Alex Jones to the level he's at now because of because of the MAGA movement. If not, Alex Jones would still be an underground cult figure. Probably still be banned on social media. And like he got his ex back. Why? Because Trump was able to get Elon involved through MAGA. Okay, let's get that straight. So Alex Jones can claim he was never MAGA. He's never not been MAGA. The movement that Alex has been a part of is MAGA, is 1776. It's the same thing. Trump gave it a new momentum. If I'll go this much. Yeah, Alex Jones got the Twin Towers, but guess what? X-Files got it first. And that's kind of what Alex Jones would have been without MAGA. He would have just been the X-Files guy. He would have been the guy who's talking about things that might happen, maybe do happen on the internet. So Trump and the MAGA movement has elevated this whole conversation to something new. And Alex Jones owes that to the MAGA movement. So he can act like it's nothing, but he's always been a part of it.
Yeah, I just don't get what is the propensity to go along with what one official is saying. It's as if every single person in the Trump administration lacks the ethics to speak out if something ever really was, counter to what we're being told, which is that the U.S. had its own motivations to join Israel in its strike. I mean, this didn't happen in a vacuum. I mean,
right.
Netanyahu didn't just come to the U.S. 8 times in the last however long it's been since Trump was inaugurated, January 2025. He didn't just come here just to have tea, I mean, this is something where I think it's like, anyone who's ever played, strategy games or like war games where it's like you oftentimes choose to form like alliances.
Yes.
And make decisions based off of convenience and mutual interests. And to suggest that the U.S. and Israel don't have mutual interests is just to deny reality in its face. And there's nothing wrong.
I think Trump's playing that hand right now. And I do see that there is a split trying to form in the MAGA movement. I mean, Alex Jones is talking about it right there. I've never been MAGA. Well, you know what? MAGA is what's going to get us through this. So whether you're part of it or not, you're going to be dragged along because that's the movement.
More business. We've never had more support from the Jewish community. Yeah, because the policies of Netanyahu and others are incredibly unpopular and are creating a backlash. Then you call everybody anti-Semites, and now you've defined this new huge enemy you have, so you get more power, more control, more funds, and get to play victim more. Just like Mark Levin running to Trump with Sean Hannity. Oh, they're being mean to me. Oh, they're saying bad things. Myself, Tucker Carlson, we're not saying anything bad about you, other than the fact that you're trying to censor and control people and then run and play victim. And now you called on your daddy Trump to come and say, ooh, you won't be in the cool kids anymore. You won't be able to sit at the cool table at lunch, in junior high if you're not cool. Well, here's a newsflash. When I was in junior high, I was dating the high school girls. When I was in high school, I was dating college girls. I was never in the lunchroom because my college girlfriend was picking me up at lunch and we were pulling around the woods and having lunch, if you know what I mean. So it's the same analogy now. I don't want to be at your cool table, which is really the short bus of politics, okay? We're the avant-garde, we're the cutting edge, and I don't want to be at the table with Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro, self-appointed control freak jokes, or Benjamin Netanyahu. And I'm not with the Muslims, and I'm not with Ilhan Omar, and I'm not with the Iranians. Got it? Not with that, and not with you. I'm an American, and I'm sick of this crap. And we have a lot of the Jewish lobby running around trying to censor Americans because what you're doing is unpopular, and your answer is to double down. That's not going to work. But if Trump wants to sign his political fortunes onto you, and that's what he thinks, and he thinks promoting Mark Levin as a litmus test, you better support him or I don't support you, good then. Make it cut and dry and clear. You already ran off Massey. You already ran off MTG. Now you're...
I can't watch this anymore, man. This is crazy. Let's just go to Owen. Let's just go to his clip.
This is we're gonna go further down into the outrage here, I think, because I think the little preview I saw this Owen's really going off on how immoral.
I think this one's shorter, thankfully.
Is it?
Yeah.
But here's what's not hazy. What's not hazy is what was said during the campaign, and what's not hazy is what is being said and done now. This is all very clear. And this is what allows us to have a very clear picture of where foreign policy is at in this country. So let's start. Let's start with the campaign, because there's no doubt that Trump ran against this war on Iran.
I am the candidate of peace. I am peace. People don't believe that. I am peace.
A vote for Donald Trump is a vote for a man who wants to end wars, not start them.
We do not want war with Iran. We actually want peace. The Iranians are clearly not very good at war. Perhaps they should follow President Trump's lead and give peace a chance.
Kamala is campaigning with warmongers like Liz Cheney. How do you think that is? She picks Liz Cheney, whose father virtually destroyed the Middle East. Liz Cheney, she talks big, oh, I want war. She always wants war. Every time I was with her in the White House, we should attack this nation, that nation, nations that people never even heard of, we should attack. She's a big tough guy. She sits back in Washington, oh.
I don't think Iran's a nation people have never heard of.
Well, besides that, Trump did negotiate. He tried to negotiate with them, and the negotiations are still ongoing. It appears just aggressive negotiations at this point.
Yep.
We're going to go and attack Iran, Iraq. We're going to attack everybody. That's why I broke up with her. All she wanted to do is go to war with everybody. These war hawks, they want to draft your kids to die in wars, and they will never fight themselves. We'll stay around the country for 15 years, just bomb the hell out of everybody, make everybody miserable. Nobody knows why we're there, the wars that never end. These endless wars that we've been in, I've gotten us out of so many. We don't want to get into wars. We're tired of fighting. I'm the only president in the last 84 years that didn't start a war. Under Trump, we will have no more wars, no more wars, no more wars. We will have prosperity and peace. We will have prosperity and we will have peace. Remember, I'm the president of peace. They said he will start a war. I'm not going to start a war. I'm going to stop wars. He's going to start a war. I said, no, no, no. My rhetoric is going to keep us engaged. That's the
To this moment in the administration.
that's the only isn't it pathetic?
So there's no denying that that was the campaign
There's Owen shilling for drop site.
and that that was President Trump up to this moment in the administration. Or you might say last summer when the war drum started banging. That is undeniable. That is simply fact and undeniable that this was an anti-war campaign, an anti-war candidate specifically against Iran strikes. Now, let's be fair. You can say, okay, well, things change, but they have presented no evidence of that. They have presented us with zero evidence that things have changed. It's a lie. The only thing that changed was they thought that they had 4 years to do it, and they don't because the midterms are about to go blue. That is the only thing that's changed. You can say, well, Trump saying that on the campaign, maybe he really believed that he could negotiate a deal with Iran and this wouldn't have to happen. Maybe that's true, but it has happened now, and it is against his campaign promises. That is a fact. Now, the wildest part of this, and this is what has so many of us perplexed as we're following the bouncing ball on this issue, you have all of these MAGA cultists that all stood and cheered. They all stood and cheered when Trump said no more wars, we're not getting into a war with Iran. They all stood and cheered and voted for that. And now that we are striking Iran and we are in a war with Iran and we are in a regime change war, they're all standing and clapping like seals and cheering for the exact thing they voted for, against what they voted for.
I mean,
I voted against Kamala. I really didn't even consider going to war with Iran. That wasn't really an issue during the election, ever. It was never talked about. I mean, he did say I'm anti-war, but it was never framed with Iran.
I think
Did I say Israel? I meant Iran.
I think that the new TDS is coming from people who are living in bubbles, who can't accept the fact that sometimes plans can change. And
I think they don't like the reason for the change. They think it's Israel, and it might be partly Israel.
I mean, of course, there's an interest. I mean, look, I honestly don't. And maybe this sounds naive to a lot of people out there. I hope it does, because I think it sounds sane to me. Is I don't understand why people can't just get in across their minds that Israel is basically like a 51st state, and it's important for our interests to have a beacon out there in the Middle East. This is something that everyone gets uncomfortable whenever you bring it up to. People just think
that
it's
idea.
People think it's too meta.
Mm-hmm.
People think it's way too meta, but it is just the case. It's like they're sort of like in a lot of ways a very helpful proxy state, and I don't know why it's taboo to see it that way. Maybe because it's just being too honest, but like I'm for it, because why are you against it? Why don't you think it's good to have an eye on what's going on?
I don't want any 51st states. How about that?
Well, I mean, we have other territories.
They're not states.
They're not. Yeah, exactly. But if they were ever in trouble, if they were getting bombed, we would probably.
Well, that's different.
Yeah,
that's not a state. That's a territory. But
well,
I get your point.
Yeah, and I'm not advocating for Israel to be a 51st state, but I don't see how people don't basically view it as a part of our, like, one of our. It's the most unofficial territory you can call it, because it's not one of our territories.
I
but
think the people who are really in the bubble on this look at how Israel was founded. They have problems with that. They might question the motives of that. There's a lot of reasons why this is a big issue, especially for people who study this or informed on it, talk about it a lot. So I can see why it's an issue for them.
Yeah, because people like just don't see the bigger picture. Like that it actually matters for reasons of national security to have an ally over in an area where there's a lot of volatility and certainly some governments that want to kill and behead our people. So I just don't see how it is that like taboo to just like see it as like a symbiotic fish, you know, and in the ocean who like rely upon each other.
As long as we're in the position of power and leverage, I don't have a problem dealing with Israel. But I don't want to play second fiddle to Israel. I don't think America's role is to do that.
Absolutely not. No, and that's not even what I'm advocating for. But I do think that if push comes to shove, like, you know, if Israel is sustaining like mad hellfire, and it is like buildings are just getting knocked out, like wiped out and destroyed, like, is there a reality in which you think that the U.S. just sits like passively by, or you know, does
In
it?
Israel?
Yeah, or if there's like a nuke pointed, you know, towards the country, like the U.S. is going to get involved and defend.
It depends on what Israel's done to be in that situation. But no, not if they're just attacked unprovoked. Of course not.
Yeah, like if they are just attacked unprovoked, then I think that
The
you know,
point of all this to me though is about America and about MAGA, the MAGA movement, and how the motive behind the Iran war is causing a rift between a lot of the people who see themselves as leaders within the MAGA movement as opposed to Trump. Wouldn't you say? I mean, these guys here, they all think they're the leader of the MAGA movement, and if they can't be, then they're going to say they've never been it.
yeah. Sorry, I was just checking something on Rumble. But no, I agree.
I like so far. Glenn Beck's got the best take on it. Surprisingly,
Yeah, he actually put it really nicely. I don't even think that it's worth going on with Owen, but he did post something. Is it? No, it's not back up.
I hope Owen's doing well on his new endeavor. So I don't agree with his stance on this.
Maybe it's his clips channel.
Yeah, probably his clips channel. Or it's Owen's updates.
Screw it. I can't find anything for it.
Anyway,
But
I'm gonna like reiterate my case here that this is the fourth turning, and we are in a time of crisis. We were going to be in a time of crisis. Hell or high water is going to happen. So these are the cards we have, and it's kind of painful. I'm gonna switch my position here. It's kind of painful to understand we have to go through these conflicts, and there might be the internal conflict. It might this whole thing between TDS MAGA and the non-TDS MAGA have to go through this civil war, so to speak, civil info war, to get to where we need to be to deal with the problems going forward. You know, it's like having to deal with 2020. Nobody wanted to go through that, but I think we're better off as a country because we did. So there's no reason to get upset and cry about this. This is part of the process. We're going to have to deal with it. We're going to have to get tough. And we're going to have to know where we're at. One of the things you can do is just figure out where you're at on the map and then find your way. So it's just, and this is where we're at. We got to fight it out, argue it out, and tough it out, and then work forward.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see a way in which we can resort to passivity as soon as as soon as we get ourselves involved, like I think there's this urge for Trump to sort of like end the war quickly, or do it in the time frame that he has suggested that it could be done in. But what I'm trying to get at is I think that people think that this is something that we should just be able to back out of and, you know, change our minds on it now that it's happened. But there's no going back from this decision. It's like people can rage about it all they want, but we're in the here and now. We're not in the just a few weeks ago America. So what we've done is kind of what we've done. The idea that, oh, we need to pull out now is just like, well, is the mission done? Is that it, or are you just saying that we should do that because we don't want to cause any more damage, or, you know?
I honestly think if Trump were to disavow Mark Levin, Ben Shapiro, which I'm no fan of them anyway, really, then maybe this would help facilitate this healing that needs to take place. Or maybe that's what will eventually happen. We see Trump reverse himself all the time. So maybe he will be like, you know what, I was wrong. These guys are no good. We don't know.
Yeah, and like my best advice for dealing with Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro is if you don't like them, don't watch them. Like I kind of try to avoid watching either of those guys. Oh, I don't even have to really avoid Mark Levin because I just feel like you only see him if you have radio or if you
watch Fox.
Have Fox News. But right. I mean, I don't even really see much Ben Shapiro. I mean, I think people are telling the truth on the part where people are saying, like when Alex is saying that, you know, nobody watches really Mark Levin or Ben Shapiro. Like, I think that there is a difference. Like, I find myself, I think I would disagree less on less things with Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro if we were to have like a person-to-person, face-to-face conversation. But I fundamentally just don't think that their approach is anything that I'm interested in. Like, it just always...
It's neocon.
Like,
and I can't stand neocon.
It's so neocon, and like Ben thinks he's funny when he like tries really hard to be funny, and he just like comes across as just like a theater kid. And
that's one little nuance I guess I could add to in this conversation is that what I hear when I listen to some of the TDS MAGA people is, if you're supporting Trump with Iran in any form or fashion, then you are a neocon. I don't think that those two things don't have to be true. I am not a neocon.
It's not mutually exclusive. Yeah.
No, I'm not a neocon, but I can see the benefit of finally dealing with this whole thing that's been going on for my whole life. So I don't know. I always approach things at this point, you know, Meme Ranch is all about the fourth turning and generational theory. So that is always my lens looking at this stuff. And, you know, you got to clean your room. You got to clean house. I don't know. We got to deal with this. If we don't deal with, like, I almost think, here's the thing. If we didn't get Trump and we weren't dealing with this, the path we would have taken would have been really bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm seeing if there's any more Joe Kent stuff. This is actually, we could watch this. This is kind of interesting. It's a Daily Caller video.
Hello, everyone. It is a bit past 7 p.m. I am just getting ready to leave the White House. It's been a long day on pool. Happy St. Patrick's Day. I got to celebrate it with the president. Today, some big news broke. The president's director of National Counterterrorism resigned because he said he didn't agree with the president on the conflict with Iran. That broke right before I was about to go into the Oval Office. And so I got to ask the president about it during his bilateral this morning. And I asked him what his reaction was. He told me that he read the letter and that he thought Joe was a good guy, but he said if he didn't think that there was a threat with Iran, then it's probably a good thing that he resigned. Very interesting. The president also called him weak on security. So from there, I've been trying to do some digging on what went down and getting some different things from sources. We still don't have a full picture, but what I've been hearing from sources is that he has not been, and these are administration sources, Joe had not been a part of the administration's discussions and meetings on Iran. One senior administration official told me that he had actually been kicked out of the president's intelligence briefings because they thought he was a known leaker. And now here's where these two sources are differing on things. The one source told me that the White House had not asked Tulsi Gabbard to fire Joe, and that she absolutely would have if they had asked. The other source, this source being a senior administration official, said the White House did in fact want him fired because they suspected him for leaking. So some interesting stuff coming out here on this whole situation. I can already tell there's going to be more coming out. We know that he is doing an interview tomorrow. And so I'm going to try to keep you guys up to date as much as I can. Make sure you stick around. It's only Tuesday. It's going to be a long week.
Yep.
I wondered, she actually answered some questions I had in my head. Were they going to fire him so he quit? You know, that whole scenario.
Yeah, it seems like another one of these situations which I brought up the Trump's pick for the White House Religious Commission because she also had an outburst kind of situation at a panel meeting, and essentially they, you know, she was asking why Israel was being brought up so much in their discussion. She was saying it kept being mentioned, you know, like over and over again, like 13, 17 times, whatever. And, you know, it caused a scene because everyone was kind of uncomfortable by the question, like, why is she so pernicious about this? Let me see if I can pull up that video.
Pernicious. Nice lingo. I like it.
Let's see. Carrie Prejean.
Who's she with?
She was like, I don't know what she does otherwise, but she was on the Religious Commission. She just did an interview with Tucker Carlson. Let me see if I can pull up the let's see.
The thousands of Palestinian civilians in Gaza and their universities' financial ties to that war. So I need to ask you, in a country built on religious liberty and the First Amendment, do you believe someone can stand firmly against anti-Semitism, including what you experienced, and at the same time condemn the mass killing of Palestinians in Gaza, or reject political Zionism, or not support the political state of Israel? Or do you believe that speaking out about what many Americans view as genocide in Gaza should be treated as anti-Semitic? Because in my view, the United States cannot and must not make loyalty to a particular theology about Israel a litmus test for protected speech or moral legitimacy.
What I'll say is that Natan Sharansky says there's three things that you shouldn't do with Israel. You shouldn't delegitimize it, you shouldn't demonize it, and you shouldn't apply a double standard. You can abide by those three things, you're not anti-Semitic.
So by not being a Zionist, does that make you an anti-Semite?
I don't think you need to be a Zionist to support a country that defends itself and is free and religious in a hostile neighborhood.
So is anti-Zionism
Hold on,
anti-Semitism?
one second, Carrie.
Yes.
It is? It is?
Sorry. Yes.
You know, I'm a Catholic, and Catholics do not embrace Zionism, just so you know. So are all Catholics anti-Semites, according to you?
As I said, anti-Zionism, by denying the right of the Jews to have their own state while not saying the same for any other peoples, that is a double standard, hypocrisy, and anti-Semitism.
So just to be clear, are Catholics anti-Semites because they
Carrie, excuse me. I'm going to interrupt the discussion. Our committee is focused on religious liberty taken from all people. This is not the commission for that.
Right, but we're talking about a foreign nation, so I want to be clear on what the definition of anti-Semitism is. If I don't support the political state of Israel, am I an anti-Semite? Yes or no?
They already answered, asked and
Yes.
answered.
According to you, on the record, yes? If I don't support the political state of Israel?
I don't personally label people. But what I'm saying is, if somebody states if somebody says they're an anti-Zionist, they are saying about themselves that they have a double standard and hypocrisy, and they're taking anti-Semitic positions.
Of tens of thousands.
Yeah, so that was the other situation that unfolded recently. And yeah, I don't know why Trump picked her. So it was an odd
I just don't
pick.
think any of this has anything to do with the MAGA movement.
I think she was.
It's juvenile and a distraction, unless it's an issue here in our country, right?
I think she's Maha. I think she's more like a Maha person.
Right. She's wearing green.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a weird color.
What do you think, though, Kaylin? I mean, unless, Alex Jones was talking about how Greenblatt, who's with the ADL, I think, is making some wild suggestions about how to treat Americans. That's probably not so good. But outside of what goes on in our borders with the Americans, I don't really find it too interesting what's going on outside of our borders.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I think that there's like a weird cohort of people that like find themselves like saying, yeah, like, screw the ADL, like they're trying to, control what we say, and for the most part, everything about that, is correct to hold that position. But I just don't see how it necessarily, goes up on the ladder to just being like completely against anything that has to do with like us collaborating with an ally. Like it seems like it's like a so what kind of thing.
Well, I'll tell a quick insight, personal story of mine that I will retell again until I'm blue in the face. But I was invited to a studio gathering here in Oklahoma City, put on by a gallery, an art gallery. And when I get there, they had membership people from CARE, Center for the Islamic Relations, CARE, American Islamic Relations. And they had a Democrat, somebody who had been from the arts world locally, who had been elected to Democrat politics in Oklahoma. They were, I think, some sort of a representative. And then they had somebody, some sort of like Soros type deal. I can't remember the name of it, but they were talking about infiltrating the Oklahoma education system through influence and subverting the will of the people. That was real. There was no Israelis in there. There was no Jewish people in there. It was basically white people. I mean, I don't know what their religious persuasions were. And people representing CARE and left-wing politics. And that was real. And that was local. So, and that was before all this. That was before COVID. That was in 2018, I believe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you need to look over your shoulder a lot.
Yeah, it's important not to let yourself get sucked into or subsumed into like one way of thinking. Like, I mean, my best approach to the war right now is just to sort of, we're in it. There's not a lot of good, like Glenn Beck was saying, in prejudging something because we don't know how things are going to end yet.
We need facts.
That's the frustrating part of it. Is I think we're so trained to wanting to know as soon as possible when we're going to predict the outcome. you know, or get pretty close to the idea of how we think things are going to climax and end. But when it comes to war, we just can't have that. I can't have that, like, that type of mentality, because, I mean, I think it's fine to prognosticate on how things are going to go, but it's a gamble. So I don't like to be one of those people where I say or know how things are going to go. But I will say that you know, I will comment on my gut feeling, maybe unlike Glenn Beck, but I just feel my gut tells me that it's not immediately obvious to me that partaking or choosing to invade is going to result in the same way that some of our more critical invasions of Iraq, Afghanistan, weapons of massive destruction. You know, it's like everyone can agree that that's easy to sort of pick out. You know, hindsight is 20/20 on that. Maybe it's naive to think that it's not going to be the exact same thing, because many people think that, you know, war is just always the same.
Well, I mean, the chessboard is really interesting. We've got Iran,
Mm-hmm.
we've got Cuba, we've got Venezuela, we've got Mexico. This isn't just a one front thing we're talking about. And I just think it's very complex, and it's people have to hone in on what they can deal with mentally, and like that's all they want to think about is this one thing. But Trump's actually dealing with a lot of fronts. America is. We'll put it that way. We're dealing with the Democrat Party, who's trying to subvert America as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
no, and the road's going to get bumpy for Trump if Republicans don't win the House. Like, I mean, that's something.
That's what the focus should be.
Yeah,
Right.
that's where the focus should be, because it's like that's the only thing that you can really have an effect on. You know, it's the only way you can. I know that sounds like, you know, it's like, go out and vote with, you know, with your voice. You know, it's like, I don't know. If you want to do anything or feel like you're contributing anything, like, just do what you think is right, but at the same time keep in mind that there's a lot of public opinion that's trying to get drowned out about things like but like election security. You know, it's like some of those policies have never been more popular, but you have one party that's trying to say that is going to be somehow suppressing voters whenever things like voter ID are super popular. I mean, it seems like
super important.
It seems like a meta issue to like focus on, or like a way to like deflect from like other like tangible policies. But voting is a tangible policy, and at the very first step, this is like the step of like rebuilding the society, is, you know, before you actually vote on anything that's going to impact the society, you want to make sure that your structure and legitimacy and the system that you have for voting is intact. Because if it's not intact, then you're not going to even get people to go out and participate in democracy. So you gotta make sure that everything is foolproof and that there's no gaps.
I think let's wrap it up there. But in order to do this stuff, you can't break up your alliance. So just because you disagree, you know, it's not divorce time. It's unite time around what we know we can do, which is win the next election, and then we can work on getting more of what you want, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Well, thank you guys for tuning in tonight, and remember to like and subscribe here on this channel, and follow us on our other channel, Meme Ranch Pod, where we do our weekly podcasts. We're going to start uploading a lot more on this channel as well in the coming days, thanks to some nifty updates coming from our virtual studio. So we have better ways to present you all content in easier fashion. So I think it's going to be helpful for getting you guys to see more of our shows. So we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace out.